Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Cooking with Unity. I'm your host Maximilian Moreau, and ignore the sign that says Phil there. He's not here, and there's no sign for Jeffrey yet. Sorry, Jeffrey, but you're not here either. So it's just me. Hi, guys. So apologies in advance if I can't answer as many questions in the comments. It's difficult for me to switch between things, and actually we used to have a comments view that we could go to that was safe and it didn't have the stream on it. And it was nice because we didn't have to worry about the stream going out and then coming back in and then eating bandwidth with ACK packets and stuff like that, because we really cut this thing close on bandwidth. So interactive episode, just warning you ahead of time. So what are we doing? So, oh yeah, we gotta actually switch screens. Switch the screen. So, on our last episode, we started work on making a jump thing happen. And the thing is, when we were doing it, we discovered this nice little bug or feature. I don't know, it's something. I would call it a bug. But just because of the way the behavior works. But let me just show it to you here. So we've got this stickman here, and if he has a jump animation, like if it doesn't have to be hooked into anywhere, it doesn't have to be the default animation. If it's in there, we can't move around the screen. So like if I remove it, here, do boop doop doop, we can just move around. It's great. And then if I go back in there and we just throw it back in, we don't have to connect it to anything. We're grounded. We can't do any moving. So this is actually not going to be difficult to work around, I don't think. But it is something to keep in mind. Now the reason this is happening is because jump actually does what is typically referred to as root movement, and the problem is root motion. And the problem is I'm not sure if it's entirely that, because if we click, like right now, we're broken right now, right? Yep, we are. If we remove apply root motion, I would have expected that to make this not be a problem, but it is still a problem. So I'm not sure if it's exactly root motion that's the problem. But basically, this guy, we're changing his position, and that includes all three components, which means that these components are being reset as the animation plays. And so as we move the character around, he just gets stuck back into the initial position. So what we're going to do instead, and what this animation is supposed to do is just make him jump, right? So what we're going to do instead is we're going to create one more layer above the stickman here. We're going to go to scene. We're going to find out where the stickman is. 000, naturally. I'm just going to go ahead and wait. This is probably... Let's see if this is safe. It's safe. And we're just going to... game object here is at 000. Perfect. We're just going to drag the stickman in. We're going to call this... let's going to call this... player is what I'm going to call him. We're going to make sure... Okay, we didn't have a player tag, so I'm going to go ahead and tag this as a player. Might as well, while we're here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to keep all of this animation stuff where we want it here, but we're going to move the player movement up a notch. So we're going to copy component, and we're going to paste this up here. Paste component is new. And we're going to remove this component here. Now, we might want to move punch up as well. Sometimes I like to keep all the scripts on the highest level. We also may have to change our script slightly. So, if we go into player movement right now, you'll see that we do a get component animator here, which this is going to fail now because we no longer have an animator on the same level that the script is on. And so we can fix this very easily. All we need to do is, instead of get component, we need to do get component... Here, let's see if I can just type it in. Get component in children. And it's the same call, just this one will actually grab anything that's on your children. It'll also grab anything that's on you. So if you are in a situation, this is honestly, it's very common practice to have get component in children be more common than just get component. Because a lot of times you'll have cases where some things have a node that's above, a few levels above, and some of them you're just right there. And if you do get component in children, it will work in both cases. So, because if it's on the object, it'll totally find it. If it's beneath the object in the hierarchy, it'll totally find it. So we're going to do that. We're going to save. So now I'm going to hit play, and hopefully we should be able to move. We can. Excellent. And we can do that even though we have this this stickman has the jump thing here. And this is fine. This is going to work out just fine for our purposes. And actually, this is typically how you'd want to set things up anyway, especially if you're doing the motion programmatically. Unity, what this whole Mecanum system is really set up for is for making games like Uncharted that are entirely animation driven. So you have like mocap data, and the mocap data includes root animation stuff. You're never changing the transform of the player. You're just playing an animation that changes the transform of the player for you. And that way, I mean, you get less slidey stuff, because what happens is if you have root motion, you have this nice animation where you're walking forward, and your steps are actually pulling you forward in a mocap setup, as opposed to in the old days when you just, or not even the old days, what we're doing right now exactly, where when we're animating, we could animate his feet at any speed, and we could animate his movement at any speed. They're completely independent of each other, but that can look really wrong. There's going to be a speed that looks right for the animation to match the motion, and in a mocap scenario, it can be perfect. So in that scenario, you're not going to run into this issue. And I'm not excusing that. I'm just saying that that's what their priorities are with the Mecanum system. And there's a lot of really great animations that you can get on like the asset store, so you can drive a game that way very easily. But we're not doing that. We're doing some custom little weird animations in Unity system, and it's actually working out better than I thought it was going to, so I'm kind of happy. So what we're going to do now is we're going to actually hook in our jump state. So what we want to do is, I forget how we had this. We hooked this in at one point, I think. I forget if we were able to get working in any state. Let's give it a shot. So we're going to do any state. We're going to make a transition to jump. And we're going to, so we've done that, and now I always have trouble with any state, so that we may end up just immediately not using any state again. But let's give it a shot. So the jump here, and then we want to return to our regularly scheduled animation after jumping. So what we're going to do is, if we jump now, so we're going to jump now. So if we jump now, we'll jump, and then afterwards, we're just going to do an exit time, and I'm just going to set it to our standard 0.9, because that's what we've been using for most of our animations. 0.9. And let's give a shot at this. So it's not going to work just yet, because we didn't put a jump thing on these guys. And actually, while I'm at it, I'm just going to head, as I said, I kind of like to have these things at the top level, so I'm going to say get component in children on this script as well. And we're going to do the same thing on jump, get component in children, save that. And what else are we going to do? So I'm just going to copy component, remove component. We're going to go up to the player. We're going to paste component as new. And I'm going to drag in our jump script. So there we go. And so now if we hit play, in theory, okay, so we can still punch. That's good. That's working the way we want it. And we have a jump. It's a really, we didn't make an animation for the jump yet. We just literally raised the player. We didn't like make him curl into a ball or anything. But it does actually jump, and it has a little bounce at the end. That's probably because we had our smoothing set up a little bit odd. If we go into our stickman here and we look at our jump animation and actually look at the curves, we can probably figure out why that's happening. We're not moving too much. Oh, yeah. Here we go. So we need position Y. This is the one. So, yeah, there's... if we flatten this out, it ought to look a little bit better. So let's do that, and then let's hit play, and we'll do a little jump. I don't know why it moves forward slightly. Oh, I know why. It's because this doesn't default to 0. Yeah, that makes sense. So let's just clean that up on. So the position X has some movement on it. Let's get rid of that right now. We don't want any of that. So so on the first frame, we're going to set it to 0 here, and on the next keyframe, we're going to set it to 0 again. And on the last keyframe, I think he's set to 0. No, he's not. So we're going to set it to 0 one final time. And the Y should be 0 at this point too. So let's do that. So now if we, hopefully that saved. I think it did. So let's hit play, do another jump. There, now he's not doing the forward thing. Now the problem is he has this little, like, we actually don't want it flat at the bottom because it means that it's going slow at the bottom. So let me just clean that up again. Let's go back to the curves. We're going to look at the Y position, and actually we want this to be, let's try broken. No, that's not what we want. Auto, no, that's not going to be sharp enough. Maybe it is. Let's try auto. So now if we hit play, jump, yeah, auto gave us that little pop again. I don't like that. Left tangent, right tangent. So let's do right tangent linear. Actually, let's do both tangents linear. See if that does anything. I don't like that little pop at the end. What is it doing at the end? Let's see if we can zoom in and see what's going on here. Huh. That looks decent. I don't really get that. We're getting no motion on the other two, right? Yeah. So I don't like that pop at the end. It might be partially due to what we're translating into on the, like, maybe it's because the body is changing significantly in the Y. Let's look. So if we do the jump now, yeah, that's the problem. So it's just the way this animation's set up. We'll try and get this cleaned up later. I'm going to leave it for now. We'll make it so that he has an animation though, so maybe that'll look a little better anyway. So let's make an animation for his jump. So we've got the position stuff. Let's make it so that he's a little bit more dynamic. We're going to be animating probably all of his limbs on this one. So let's just do a ninja jump. Let's make him kind of do a roll or something. So we're going to have rotation. So so let's see if I can do this trick right that I was taught by one of our viewers. I'm sorry, I don't remember the name offhand, but basically they tweeted me and showed me. God, I should know their name. But basically they showed that if you set up a keyframe later in the animation, the initial keyframe is already set for you. Like, it just automatically makes one that's sensible. So so we're just going to go halfway through to where we're in the air. Actually, let's go a little bit further, a little bit less farther than that. So at this point, we're going to tuck in all the arms. So let's grab the left arm target. Let's just go into the scene here. And we're just going to, like, tuck. And right arm target, we're going to tuck. And then the legs, we're going to tuck. Oh, goodness, that was bad. That's not what I actually wanted. I wanted to tuck the foot, not the leg. Actually, I didn't want that either. I want the target. Left leg target, or whatever. There we go. Yeah, we'll just have him turn into a horrible ball. It'll be terrible looking. And the right leg target, we're just going to all right, we're all balled up. And let's see how that looks so far. This is going to be so bad. I can't wait for it. Yeah, that looks like a ninja. All right, so if we just start rotating immediately, maybe we can cover this up. So so I'm going to have it so he rotates 180 degrees by this point along the Z-axis. So let's just make sure I'm on the right keyframe. I just want to get right on it. And then we're going to put a rotation of 180 on him. Whoops. Not what I wanted. What did I just do? Okay, so I undid it. Good. That's not what I wanted to do at all. I wanted to do that on the stickman himself. Or do I want it on the body? Yeah, I want it on the stickman. So we're going to rotate the whole stickman 180 at this point. And so now we should have keys for rotation. of... We don't. We naturally don't. No, we do. There we go. Stickman rotation. So the top one here. And then finally we go back down here and we do the 180 degree back. So we just go to 360 actually. We'll just make it so that he's going the same direction at the very least. So, oh yeah. And we actually want that direction to be exactly the opposite to negative 360 and negative 180. So let's see how that looks now. Yeah, the arms and legs folding in look really dumb. But it does kind of work. Oh, what are their original positions supposed to be? Oh no. Okay, that's easy. We just copy them. So really, the final thing here, with the exception of rotation, which I want to still be high as opposed to a wraparound value, we're going to... Yeah, I'm just going to copy all the keys. We're just going to see what I can do here. So if I select... No, can I do... Yeah, I can do that. Let's make this bigger. Let's bring this out real quick. I want it out there. So we're going to make this bigger. And we're going to drag select on... Well, if I do that, that's going to do all of them anyway, isn't it? Oh, what did I just do? You can make negative things. That's scary. All right, so we want... this is just the overall key, so I don't want to select that. We want to select down here. I want to grab everything, and then I want to deselect... which one? The one that I don't want to change... And position Y should be 0 here, really. Oh yeah, I don't want to change the rotation. So it's this one here that I don't want changed. Why does it start at 1 of all the things? So we're going to deselect this one by hitting Command click. No, that doesn't work. Okay, ironically, Control click seems to work. That will work on Windows as well, I would wager. Button you would use for that action. Anyway, on Mac you wouldn't, but that's okay. So I'm going to copy all those. We're going to go all the way to the last frames here, and we're going to paste. And so, in theory, when we do the animation, he'll come back out and land. There we go. It's a goofy jump, but I'm gonna stick with it for now. I want to put this back, docked down here. And let's go ahead and save scene, save project real quick. And let's give it a trial run in the game. It looks like some bizarre animation from the 1950s or something. I don't know. The folding is just bad. I need to, like, not make him do that. I was kind of doing it half as a joke, but it ended up looking way worse than I thought I was going to. I knew it was going to look bad, but... Alright, cool. But we're going to stick with it for right now. So, I'm going to go ahead, since we did some work, and with the animation stuff, I never fully trusted. We're going to actually check this stuff in. We're going to go into Cooking with Unity, and what are we doing? We're going to go fight, go right, reconcile offline work, reconcile, and submit. So, jump no longer locks player. Really bad jump animation. So good. So we didn't burn too much time on getting the jump working and getting rid of our little dilemma. It was a very minor problem, right? So isn't that nice? So let's see. Let's get some collision in here. What do we want to do? So let's just see if we can get some very basic punch hitting things going on. So let's make a training dummy. We're gonna just create a 3D object. We're gonna create a capsule, and we're just gonna go over here and we're gonna make it appropriately sized for a training dummy. So 5 or a punching bag or something. 2.5. And 2.5. That's too big. No one would ever do one that big, but 1.5, 1.75. And let's make this 2. There we go. That's a pretty good punching bag. And what do we want to do? So what I want to set this up as, we're doing a fight go right. In the old days, we didn't have physics objects laying around doing cool stuff. So what I'm going to do on this guy is I am going to set him into physics type scenario, but we're not going to rely on the collisions to do the physics. We're going to have it so that when we punch, if the hitbox hits it, we're going to apply an impulse to it. And so this way, if you like walk around it or something, you'll just walk around it. You won't interact with it in any way. And yeah, we'll give that a little bit of a shot here and see what happens. So first of all, I want to see how this actually looks in 3D. Just see what we're doing here. So I'm going to move it so that we can actually see ourselves when we're in front of it. Let's see if this actually works. Okay, we can. Cool. So we can't actually go behind it. Theoretically, we'd want to make it so that if you're higher than it, we get occluded, because we're actually not moving up, we're moving in. So we may actually change it so that we are moving in and up at the same time. But for right now, we're just going to not worry about that. I just want it to look good for a very basic test case for right this moment. So we're going to create a light, because we haven't done that yet, because we didn't really need one with our character the way he was. So we're going to just create a light, and there we go. We've got a little punching bag thing. And let's see what we can do. I'm just going to create, we've done this once before, I'm going to call this punching bag. And we're going to make it so that what are we doing? We're going to make it so that it can swing. We're going to go component, physics. We don't have a rigid body, so we're going to add a rigid body. We're going to go ahead and use gravity, that's fine. And we're going to go physics, and we're going to add a hinge joint. Yeah, hinge joint is exactly what we want. So hinge joint, and that automatically kind of came up at the top, so that's good. What we want to do is axis. Oh, okay, so this will only swing. That's fine. We'll make the axis appropriate. So 0, 1, no, 0, 1. There we go. That's the axis we want. And so you can see the little yellow arrow pointing out. That's where it's going to swing. Just pretend that's a nail in it. And so if we hit play right now, I just want to see if this will work right. So we can't see that it's working yet, but if I was to do something like that, there we go. You'll see that it swings left and right. Cool. So there we go. We have our first training object here. Man, that thing's just gonna swing forever. We're gonna create some drag here. Let's do 0.1 and see how that looks. If I just like give it a tap real quick, we're just gonna go and eventually it should probably stop, maybe. Or maybe it's angular drag I have to worry about. Let's try that. Oh, that's too much drag now. It's like molasses. We'll tweak with it. I'm not going to worry about it too much right now. If it keeps swinging forever, that's not a big deal. So let's make it so our fists can actually make this thing move. How do I want to set this up? I'm just thinking about the future, how we want to do the collision. As I said, I wanted the character to go in front of this thing. And I basically wanted to go in front of it until he goes behind it, right? Like, does that make sense? So what that would mean, like, if we have this thing, say, let's put it so that it's right clipping with where he goes. We're going to have this situation where we can look like we're inside of something, see? There we go. I'm hiding inside of the object. We would never want that to happen, right? How does this thing look if we actually make it into not a 3D object? Like, what happens if we flatten this out in the Z direction? Yeah, we lose all our if we make it not quite as flat, though, if we make it like 0.05, how does that go? Yeah, it looks flat. That's the problem. So we're going to need to figure that out. That's going to be on our problem list. I'm not going to worry too much about it just yet. Again, I'm just thinking about these things. Like, it's good to think about these things early. If you think that there's something that might stick you up later, just put it in your brain so that you can crunch on it in the background. So for right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with the setup. And the way we're going to have his colliders actually line up is we're going to have it so that the collider on this thing is offset into his plane. So we're just going to move the collider center here along the z-axis so that it's where our character is. So now we'll be able to actually hit it. So let's save state and save project. And what we're going to do now is we're going to make some colliders. So on our fists, we're going to have collision. And we're going to be doing this using triggers, because we don't want to actually impart, we don't want to with our fists. Our fists are powerful devices, and we want to actually, like, just slam it with them. And so we're going to detect the collision using triggers, and then we're going to apply a force based on that. So I'm going to create a box collider. Actually, let's create a sphere collider. His hands are basically spherical. And let's not make it overly sized, but make it a little bit bigger than his hand actually is, so that we give the player a little bit of leeway. And we're going to do the same thing on the other hand. I'm just going to copy component and paste this into the right upper arm hierarchy. We're going to paste component as new. So there we go. And so now we have fists we can actually fight with, and they should move as the player moves. So if I hit like an animation here, yep, we've got our little colliders moving. So we're going to set both of these as triggers, and we could do kinematic rigid body, which is appropriate here because these things shouldn't just have a collider; they're moving around all the time. So we're going to add a physics rigid body to both of these. We've got them both selected, so it should go on both of them automatically. We'll find out in a second if that's actually true. And we're going to set is kinematic. We can also turn off gravity if you want. With is kinematic on, it doesn't matter, but I'm going to turn it off just in case. You never know, right? So save project, and so now, so we have these things. They're set as triggers. If we go over here and punch, we're not going to get anything happening, because while they're touching things, they're triggers, and triggers do not actually send collision data. So we're going to have to write that part ourselves, and that's not a big deal. So what we want to do is, so we also don't want these going off all the time. Actually, let's get to that after I actually get this thing working with a script. So we're going to create a script called, so we already have one called punch. What we're going to call this is, I'm going to call it, I'm going to call it damage box. No, I'm going to call it hitbox. And do I want to do it this way, or do I want to do it the opposite way? I want to do it the opposite way. Yeah, hitbox is right. Hitbox is exactly what we want. So we're going to go into hitbox. I'm going to disable this thing real quick. And our hitbox, this is not the best name for it. We'll rename it later. We're just going to create a void on trigger enter. And this is a terrible name for it. Let's call it force on hit is what I'm going to call it. Save. We're going to go back here. We're going to call this force on hit before we forget. And then we're going to open it again because model develop is like going to be where did the file go? All right. So force on hit, and we're going to do public void force amount. Let's do force And let's make a default. Let's do equals 10.0 F. Let's add a force mode because it's easy to do so. Wait, we don't need a void. Public float force. Public float, public mask. Layer mask. Layer mask. I know I just had said that word. Or I said a word that I thought was that word. I don't know. I should probably rewatch my videos because occasionally I say words that evidently I didn't mean to say. So, on trigger inner, oh, not layer mask. This is not what we wanted. I wanted force mode. Force mode. There we go. Force mode. So on trigger inner, we're just going to apply the force. This doesn't give us a good indicator of direction. So we'll have to figure out how we're going to handle that. For right now, I'm just going to just assume a direction, and then we'll play around with what we can do later. So on trigger inner, we're not going to check anything. We're just going to do it if it hits this thing. So we're just going to say rigid body dot add force, and the force will be vector 3 dot right. For right now, we're just hard coding this times force times times force, just lowercase force. And we don't need to do times time dot delta time because add force automatically puts that into the equation. So we're going to hit comma, and then we're going to just pass in our force mode. This allows us to later affect the type of force that we want just using a pull down menu, which is nice. So we're going to put this on our punching bag. And in theory, we should be able to really upset it if we touch it now. Okay, there we go. So we're hitting it, and it applies a force. Now, it happens even if we just walk into it. And it's only on trigger inner, so it only does it like once, so it's not going to go crazy. Which is probably good for our purposes. So we can actually kind of test this out as is without getting fancy, which we are going to get fancy too. But so let's not do force. Let's do so force means we do the full equation. So however heavy the bag is, it will affect the how much force is needed to move it. Impulse. I want to make sure I'm not saying these things wrong. So velocity change, I know this one just affects the velocity immediately. It just basically sets the velocity to whatever you set for force. Acceleration, this one doesn't take mass into account, but does take, but does actually affect it. I don't know. We're just going to play with them. I think that the one we probably want is impulse on this one. Let's see. It certainly made our fists more powerful. Let's double check. Let's just go to the documentation as opposed to guessing. So we're going to go Unity, and we're going to search for force mode. And force acceleration. So add continuous force to the originality. So this uses mass. This ignores mass. Okay, so these two are continuous, and these two are instant. So we should be using an instant force, definitely. And we should probably... We can choose to use the mass or not. We're probably not going to be changing the mass, so it doesn't really make a whole lot of difference. So I'm going to go ahead and do impulse, just because we might care about mass later, and this allows us to actually do that. And it will actually not make a difference between the two. Like, I bet you it will look exactly the same if we punch this thing right there, or if we punch it with velocity change right now, because it's a mass of 1. So, yep, it's exactly the same. So that's cool. So let's do, as I said, we're doing impulse just in case we want to add mass to things later and have it affect stuff. So we're going to save scene, save project. I do want to check the comments real quick. This may cause breakups in the broadcasting, so my apologies if I chop up a little bit. I just want to see how things are going and just make sure that, like, the broadcast is going. And as opposed, should be washing machine with a brick in it. Ideally, the curve should look like a parabola. Bezier weight should be vertical. That might be true. Will this workflow change in the new Unity? No, this workflow will not change in the new Unity. Render it with another camera as an overlay and change the camera depth based on the player's depth. Clever. I like that. I like that a lot. I was thinking about doing that too, but I'm glad. What Christopher Heminger is saying here, and I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. What we can do to solve the problem of going through this thing is, instead of rendering the player at the same time as the background elements, we would render the player on a separate camera, and then we could change the camera depth as the player depth changes. So as opposed to using just so basically we'd render the whole camera behind or the whole camera in front. The problem with this is it might be a camera per character because of this problem with the NPCs as well. But I do like the idea, and we still might do something along those lines. So let's do this now. So the thing is, we don't want this thing to move when we just touch it with our fists. It doesn't make sense. We want it to move when we hit it with our fists. So what really should be happening here is now in I don't have a good video to share with you queued up. If you guys have an Xbox One, and I'm sorry I'm choosing a game that naturally is on a next-gen console, and people probably haven't picked it up yet, but Killer Instinct has a hitbox mode, so you can actually see how the physics work in their game, and it's really, really, really enlightening if you've never actually seen the hitboxes for a fighting game. But basically, each attack will flash like these boxes that represent where the attack hits. And they flash on the attack, like they don't stay out the whole time. Like they may stay out for a few frames, but they basically represent a single hit. And so the animation data on this stuff, we can actually have it disable or enable the colliders as we need. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn these colliders off. So we're just going to turn off the sphere collider and turn off... Actually, we're going to turn off the whole... No, we don't want to turn off the hand. If we turn off the hand... Oh, we can turn off the hand. Because just, I wonder if that'll break anything. I always wonder that. Yeah, so we're doing, that's the right hand. So let's go to the right arm target and just make sure it still moves. It still moves. So we could disable the whole hand, or we could disable the collider. I'm going to go with the collider. So we're going to disable the sphere collider, and we're going to save, and save project. And so now if we do the punching, nothing will happen. Just going to prove it real quick. Just make sure that we're not crazy. All right, cool. So nothing happened. And now in our punch animation, we can go to punch. Right arm punch. And we can make it so that when we get to the hitting range, so right here, we can enable our collider. So we're going to enable the collider right here. And so the collider is now enabled. So it's disabled, and then it's enabled. And I'm just going to enable it for a frame. This might cause a problem, but we'll give it a shot. So this is the frame, and then we're going to go one frame over. Just go to 19, and we're going to re-enable the collider. So there's the possibility that if we skip this frame, it might not re-enable or enable in the first place. That's the one trick with doing this type of thing. I'm going to just take that chance, and we'll see how ghetto this actually ends up. So why did that... Wait, why is it just on the whole time? Okay, it's off, it's on. Wait, I want it to be on here. And then I want it to be off here. There we go. So it's off, it's on. Oh, and for some reason I must have clicked the wrong thing. That was the problem. So we don't care about the game object. We're going to remove this property. So now we just have the collider turning on for one frame and then off again. So let's just give that a shot. And let's stop the record here. And so if we hit play, and then we do a punch, yeah, that's what I thought. It didn't work. So if we drag this out a little bit further, not both of them, just that one. Let's see if that changes anything. So we don't want to So we do this. Didn't change anything. That worked that time. Wait, right arm punch is the second punch, isn't it? That's the reason that we were freaking out. So let's try this. So we're going to do a left punch. Here, I'm going to stop it. We're going to hit play. We're going to do a left punch and then a right punch. There we go. Okay, that was our problem. I was thinking it was the other punch that I was doing. So let's make it one frame again and see if that actually works. So we're going to hit play. There we go. Actually, I think I'm going to enable it just a little bit earlier so that we can... let's do it like one frame earlier. And, yeah. And we'll just leave it like that. And let's do something similar on the left-hand animation. I'm just going to... I can't copy those on, so let's not do that. That's a bad idea. So let's go to the left hand now. And we're going to go to the left arm punch. And same deal. We're going to enable the collider. I'm going to do it one frame before the hit. And then we're going to disable it one frame after the hit. Why did I have 3 states on the other one? Oh, I didn't have 3 states. I remember this. It looked exactly the same. All right, cool. So it turns on, turns off. So now both of these should be behaving appropriately. And we're still using on-trigger enter anyway, so if we get multiple frames, we're not going to hit them multiple times, so it's not a big deal. All right, cool. We've got a punching bag that we can punch now. So that's not good enough, though, because we definitely need to have these things making kung fu noises, and we need some effects and stuff. So we're going to make a little hit effect when we actually hit these guys. So what's the best way to do this? I'm going to actually see what we got on OpenGameArt real quick. Let's go opengameart.org. And what we're going to do is we're going to... Oh, they're doing a funding drive. Cool. Let's see. They deserve it, man. This is a really great site. So what we want to do is browse. Let's browse. Let's do 2D art. And I'm going to search for hit. All right. Hack and slash. Perfect. Comic Express. Exactly what I was looking for. So CC by attribution. Sure, why not? Let's just attribute this. So author Pompey, attribute to Lucas Bayer, please. All right, so let's do this real quick. We're just going to create I'm going to create a folder called third party. Create folder third party. This represents anything that we did not make ourselves. And we're going to create I'm just going to reveal this in Finder, and we're just going to create a text document here. So we're just going to do like text edit. Choose your poison for text editing. And we're just going to say, what is this called? Explosion PNG is what I'm going to grab. Actually, let's just save. Grab it and put it down on the desktop. And we're going to call this explosion.png. Attributed to Lucas Bayer under CC by attribution, CC by 3.0, CC-by 3.0. So that's the created kind as attribution clause. I'm just going to put this in here. We're going to call this, we don't want to put this in laser dot. Can I actually just drag this to where I want it? Let's see if this works. I don't think this is going to work when it's not already saved, but let's just do it. I'm going to put it in third party. There we go. And I'm going to save. Okay, that didn't work. So let's just drag third party over here. That'll work. So, it created a shortcut to it. That's really useful. And we're going to call this explosion.png.txt is what we're going to call it. I'm just going to make it so that it's named the same thing as what we're doing. And get rid of this. We don't need that. And so we're going to go back here. So we've got our attribution, and now we can put our content in the game. So we're going to put this into third party. And nice. So I'm actually going to set this up as a texture because I want to actually do it as kind of like potentially as a particle effect, so that we have more control over what it does. So I'm going to do texture, and we're going to hit apply. And though we want it to be, wait, alpha is transparency. There we go. And wrap mode should be clamp in this case. And so now, what we can do is we can make an explosion when we hit this thing. So let's create a particle system. Create particle system. And we're first going to create a new material for this. So we don't have any materials yet, so I'm going to create a folder called materials. And we're going to, inside of materials, we're going to create a, what is it called? A material, of course. And we're going to call this explode particle. And we're going to put this into here. And we're going to call it a particles. We're going to do, I think alpha blended will look the best on this. Though I'm kind of interested to see what additive looks like as well. And so we're going to go to our particle system. We're going to drag in our explode particle. So now we've got these hilarious little explosions going on. And let's make it so that there's a burst of particles at the start. So we're just going to get rid of the emission thing here. And we're going to make the shape of it... this is going to look really odd until we get this figured in. Stop. So we're going to do that. Let's make it so that the start speed is a random between two constants. We're going to be between 0 and 5. Let's see how that looks now. Simulate. Alright, and is there anything else I want to do here? Start size, let's make it between... Actually, let's, instead of doing this, let's do the constant here. We're going to do start size of 1. Let's do size by speed. And what we're going to do is, our speed range right now is between 0 and 5. So the speed range is going to be between 0 and 5. And what I want to do is, I want to make it so that at the smaller speeds, they're bigger, and at the larger speeds, they're smaller. So at the smaller speeds, they're going to be bigger. And at large speeds, they're going to be smaller. So at 5, they're going to be super small. So now if we hit simulate, you'll see that the things that moved less stayed bigger. And actually, I'm going to make it so... How can we weight this so that it becomes 0 more often? Yeah, I'm not sure how I can do that. Well, I can certainly put the range different. So if we do simulate now, and then we do to 3 again, so we do simulate. Alright, and let's just go ahead and do a fade over time too. We're just going to do color over lifetime. Actually do size. This will look better for the type of particles we're doing, and we're just going to make the size over lifetime go down linearly. And so stop, simulate. And then we don't need the lifetime to be nearly that long. Let's make the start lifetime like 2. So stop. That's still way too long. Let's just make it 0.75. Then finally, let's make the radius smaller here. Let's make it to 0 so that when we... So there we go. And so we have the start speed. Let's make it so that the speed can go a little bit higher again. Let's go back to 5. Put this back to 5. And we're going to start lifetime. This is actually even lower. Let's do 0.5. Whoops, not what I wanted. So So that kind of looks cool. Let's see how it looks. I'm just curious if we do make this, because this is kind of more of a comic booky thing, so it really shouldn't be alpha blended. But I am just curious how it will look if we did. So I mean additive blended. So let's try it with the additive blending, and let's go to particle system and simulate. Actually, that kind of looks cool. Yeah, I think I'm going to keep it. Oh, that's the other thing. So we have this problem where all of them are at the same rotation. Let's not do that. That's stupid. So what we want to do is we want start rotation. Yeah, let's start rotation should be, first of all, yeah, random direction won't change anything for what we're doing. So start rotation, we want to do random between two constants, and we're going to do 0 and 360. And so now if we simulate, now, yeah, there we go. Now it looks a little bit better. I like that. All right, cool. And yeah, let's also just yeah, that'll be good. That'll be good. So how do we want to do this? So I think we could actually just keep the particle system around and just have it attached to the hand. Let's go with that. This is not how we usually set things up. Usually we just spawn a particle. No, it's better to do the spawning. There's a lot of reasons that the spawning works better. So let's not do that. So let's call this particle system hit particle. We're going to go ahead and put this into prefabs. And we're going to delete hit particle here. And we're going to now, well, yeah, it's prefab. So we're going to create a script to spawn this thing. So currently we don't have any spawning things, so we're just going to create a C# script. We're going to call it spawn on hit. On hit, yeah, that'll be perfect. So spawn on hit. And so this is going to be exactly like a force on hit, basically. Except for, at least it's going to be using the same trick. But instead of doing that, we're going to create a game object. So public game object, object to spawn. And all we're going to do is instantiate object to spawn. And transform dot position with lowercase transform dot position, and let's just do quaternion dot identity because we don't actually care. So we do that, we hit save, and we attach this to our right hand and our left hand, and then we just select both of them, and we drag in our hit particle here, and so we hit play. And oh, this looks good. This looks good. Yeah. Okay, so why is it? Oh, yeah. Yes, you don't know, but you are already dead. You're just going to continue exploding for the rest of your life. Yeah, that's because we didn't actually turn off looping on the hit particles. Let's go ahead and do that. And actually, the duration on this thing should be like 0.5 because the start lifetime is always 0.5. So let's go ahead and do that. Actually, now it should be good. Yeah. Cool. I like that. So I'm going to actually really quickly change the start size a little bit bigger. We're going to make this a bigger impact. Just want to see how it looks. Yeah, let's do a little bit smaller. Let's do 2.5. All right, cool. So that's good. Let's now actually do a real quick sound effect. Let's just do it the old-fashioned way. Quick time. Let's do some Foley. So you can use any sound recording software that you want to use. I'm just going to use QuickTime real quick. I hope I can actually save this in a useful format. We'll find out. So we want this to be H2N. Oh, I am using the right microphone, right? Please tell me I'm using the right microphone. Just realized I didn't check that before the show. Oh, good, I am. So thankfully. So let's give this a shot. Let's use SFXer. I'm too embarrassed. I can't do a recording right now for some reason, even though I'm doing a recording right now. I know it's completely bizarre. So ASFXR. I also just didn't want to make sure. I was kind of worried that it might upset the broadcast for some reason. So let's just do some sounds here until we get something that sounds good. Actually, like explosions usually better. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. I don't like that enough, though. Yeah, let's do that one. So export wave. We're going to call this hit sound. And we're going to put it on the desktop. Save. And I'm just going to drag this and we're going to create a new folder called sounds. And we want this at the top level if we can, please. Thank you. No, not up there. Out of it. I don't want you in here anymore. There we go. Sounds. There we go. So we're going to do sounds. We're going to grab our hit sound.wave. And all we're going to do is we're just going to attach this to our hit particle. And so in theory, this should automatically just work. Cool. And I'm going to do one more real quick. I'm going to create a script that randomizes the sounds pitch. So we're just going to create a C# script we're going to call randomize pitch on awake. And we're doing awake because if we just drag this thing in, the reason it works is because it plays on awake. And so I want it to be as soon as possible for it to actually do the pitch change. So randomize pitch on awake, we're going to just in start, we're going to create a random, so public float minimum pitch equals 0. Let's make this 0.9f. Public float max pitch, and let's do min equals 1.1f. That'll be our defaults. And then what we're going to do, actually we should probably make it just a little bit less tight so that it's more obvious that it's working. And what we're going to do is audio.pitch equals random.range of min pitch and max pitch. Save, and we're going to hit play. Oh, I didn't actually attach this, so we're going to put this on our hit particle because it has a sound on it. And we're just going to leave the defaults for right now. And so now if we hit the thing, it goes. You can hear that it changes a little bit. Let's make it so that the punching bag doesn't get hit nearly as hard. Let's just change it to 10 here real quick so that we can get some like combo stuff going on. Yeah, let's do 5. So we're gonna do like bam bam bam. Yeah. Keep it going. Yeah, we can make this into a mini game right now. How many revolutions can we get in 60 seconds? Cool. So that's a basic hitbox system for using Unity. Let's check this stuff in. P4V. Going to what is it called? Reconcile offline work. Reconcile. Submit. Hit system and some effects. Really great show, really. Still lonely though. Alright. So yeah, what do we do at the show normally? At the end of the show. Thank you for watching. I hope you had a good time. I know I did. That actually came out very nicely. We fixed our jumping issue. We got some hit detection stuff going in. all of it was pretty low impact. Honestly, that was a nice day. So if you have any questions, please email me, pushypixels@pushypixels.com. You can also tweet me at Drakfire. Donate to Cooking with Unity. We have a Patreon page. Also, I basically have relaunched pushypixels.com, so you should check there. I've started doing some minor blogging stuff there. I also have been posting videos there, so if you'd rather watch them on my site, you can. It's a little less busy than the main the main YouTube pages and stuff. So check it out, pushypixels.com. Thanks for joining us, and you guys have a great night. I'll see you in the morning with more Breakfast with Unity.